Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 107 based on novel. So let's start. Origin continent within the treasure land infinite space. On an ordinary island in the middle of the lake, Luo Feng sat cross-legged, his terrifying spiritual will slightly spreading around, causing the space to be slightly distorted. Buzz. A message immediately came from the mark on Luo Feng's palm. Trialist, Origin Continent Luo Feng. Based on the two Daos of life and destruction, a new Dao has been opened up. Evaluation of the new Dao, Part 1 etc., 10,000 reward points. You have finally taken the first step on the new road, and you still need to work hard. Your spiritual will has successfully exceeded the limit of the God King. Special level. 100,000 reward points. Perhaps you can go one step further with your spiritual will? Reminder, it is forbidden to kill any spiritual creatures. Violators will be completely expelled from the infinite space. The total reward points are 108,193.03 points. Luo Feng couldn't help but look happy when he saw this piece of information. Rich? Finally rich? The treasure house of infinite space is more attractive than many treasure places. The only flaw is that the reward points are too difficult to obtain. This time, 100,000 reward points made Luo Feng feel wealthy. Another reminder? Luo Feng also noticed. It is forbidden to kill any spiritual creatures? That's right, every practitioner who comes to the infinite space will obtain an ordinary God King level body. Once the spiritual will breaks through the limit of the God King. He is invincible in infinite space, and he can kill a large number of spiritual creatures at will. Luo Feng understood the formulation of the rules. If it is not banned, not many spiritual creatures in the infinite space will survive. Of course, even if it is banned, his clone will always stay here. The inheritance and resources obtained here are far superior to those of the two ancient countries. Perhaps this is also the reason why the Emperor Bora stays here. By the way, the Emperor is here to stay. But the Lord of the 10,000 Realms and Di Qing, whose minds and wills also exceed the limits of the God King, did not stay. Luo Feng looked at his own information and made some guesses. Before mastering a complete Dao, the spiritual will break through the limit of the God King, and the reward will be 100,000 points. Like the Lords of the 10,000 Realms, their spiritual will not break through until they reach the ultimate realm, so the evaluation may be lowered to the top. The reward point is only 10,000 points. I understand why they didn't stay. Luo Feng nodded slightly. The Lord of the 10,000 Realms and Emperor Qing received few reward points. It would be understandable if they were not sure that the new Dao would reach a high enough level outside the existing path and temporarily withdraw from the infinite space. If your soul and will have reached the special level, then the only two people in the entire Origin continent are me and Di Shu. To open up a new avenue, I don't know what the threshold is to reach the special level. Luo Feng thought to himself. Based on one's own achievements on the great path of birth and death, one should be judged highly. The threshold for special evaluation is too high. This also proves how valuable reward points are. Luo Feng began to check the treasure house in infinite space. After having more than 100,000 points, the information of the treasure house that Luo Feng saw also increased greatly. A lot of inheritance information emerged, and Luo Feng glanced at the information ranked 7th. The inheritance ranked 7th, 8th tribulations life form, 6th tribulation, 7th tribulation and 8th tribulation require 100,000 reward points to be exchanged, and the highest level can be cultivated to a half-chaotic life form. Reminder, the 9th calamity envisioned by this inheritance is possible. Once completed, you can escape from the cage. So high? Luo Feng was shocked to see it. The first 5 forms of 8 tribulations of life add up to over 10,000 reward points, including all stages of the God King's training. However, those who are above the God King and reach the semi-huan life form require such a high price. Yuan has collected this inheritance, and also believes that once the 9th calamity is completed, it is possible to escape from the cage. Luo Feng's emphasis on this inheritance has greatly increased. I only have a total of more than 100,000 points, so I can only put it aside for the time being. One side. It is impossible for him to exchange all the reward points for a legacy that he will not use for the time being. The most important thing for him now is to reach the ultimate state first. Above the God King? He is still far away from himself. And according to the information I learned from the special inheritance, the foundation of each stage of the God King must be extremely solid, so of course these reward points must be used. The third chapter of World Life Form, Special Inheritance, requires 60,000 reward points to redeem, the ultimate chapter of the God King. The third chapter of 100 Cave Beast Body, Special Inheritance, requires 60,000 reward points click to redeem the God King Ultimate Realm chapter. Luo Feng also saw the information he wanted. The special inheritance is in the infinite space and can be exchanged for up to the God King's Ultimate Realm chapter. Luo Feng read a lot of inheritance information. The perfect level inheritance only requires 10,000 reward points for the God King's second level chapter. As for the reward points required for the Ultimate Realm chapter, Luo Feng cannot see them yet. Let's take a look at the treasures. Luo Feng was not in a hurry to redeem the inheritance and began to look at the many treasures first. The number 1 treasure, Han Yuan Heart, requires 100,081 reward points to be exchanged. By integrating it into the body, you can get a Han Yuan body that is highly compatible with all the original Daos. Recommendation: exchange for those who have realized the branches of the Daos in at least 5 of the original Daos. Reminder: once you reach more than half of the Daos within the Supreme Rules, and each Dao reaches at least the second level of the God King, you are expected to control the Supreme Rules and become the Lord of the Origin World. The second rank treasure, a miniature source world, requires 100,081 reward points to be exchanged. It is suitable for practitioners of the World Origin Dao. It can be refined into one of the worlds in the body, with endless wonderful uses. The third rank treasure, a Han Yuan Life Research Spaceship, requires 100,000 reward points to be redeemed, and is suitable for practitioners of the original path of life. Recommendation: it is suitable for studying the Han Yuan bloodline, which will help the Han Yuan bloodline to finally awaken and escape from the cage. Luo Feng was bewildered by the treasures in the front row. A little bit of information made Luo Feng even more nervous. If more than half of the Daos within the Supreme Rules are reached, and each Dao reaches at least the second level of the God King, then one is expected to become the Lord of the Origin World. The Han Yuan bloodline finally awakens. Can you escape from the cage? Even without buying many treasures, Luo Feng also learned some secret information. Luo Feng looked at them one by one. His heart beats again and again, but Luo Feng knows very well that the purchasing opportunity is always there. But there are only so many reward points, and they must be maximized. The price of common, beyond God King level weapons and secret treasures is generally between 12,500 points and 50,000 points. The most expensive is only 50,000 points. Secret treasures that surpass God King level weapons generally have the effect of resisting the will of the mind, and the effect may be strong or weak. Luo Feng looked at the simple information of these secret treasures, like the most expensive 50,000 point secret treasure. According to the introduction, not all attacks with more than half chaotic source life will be weakened by 90%. All attacks, including mental will, soul attacks, causal attacks, etc., can all be weakened. Who refined these secret treasures? Luo Feng muttered secretly. With a reward point in his hand, Luo Feng was a little dazzled. I want this and I want that. Because many of the treasures at this level can bring great help to Luo Feng. The only problem is that the reward points are too few. No matter what, understanding the Great Tao is the foundation. First exchange the cheapest Lotus Heart Seed. Luo Feng exchanged for the Scale of Destruction last time, and the cheapest treasure that matches the Great Tao of the Origin of Life is Lotus Heart Seed, 18,000 bonus points. Exchange. Luo Feng did not hesitate. The reward points were immediately reduced to 90,193.03 points. Considering the future exchange of inheritance and treasures, it is natural to think more carefully. His mind and will have just broken through, and life and destruction are about to reach the second level of the God King. Luo Feng plans to fully stabilize his strength and choose treasures based on his strength at that time. Huyang City, in the quiet room of the City Lord's mansion, in the Star Tower. Luo Feng held a colorful seed in his hand and was in a very good mood. Senior Yuan left infinite space in the origin continent. The better the practitioner, the greater the benefits. Luo Feng was in a very good mood. With the Lotus Heart Seed and the Scale of Destruction, he would be incomparable with the two Taoes of life and destruction. For example, the Guishu Emperor, the Lord of the Mother River, the God King of the Earth, etc., all received treasures left by Yuan because of their excellence, even treasures that surpassed the God King level, but the results were quite miserable. Luo Feng's heart moved and he looked towards the Star Tower. In the Infinite Space Treasure House, there are secret treasures that surpass God King level weapons, ranging from more than 10,000 points to 50,000 points. I don't know how valuable my Star Tower is. As soon as Luo Feng thought about it, his spiritual will began to penetrate the Star Tower. This is the first time to carefully observe the Star Tower after the breakthrough of spiritual will. The will of the soul began to penetrate into the interior of the Star Tower. Huh? It's different from before. Luo Feng was surprised to find that the powerful spiritual will quickly penetrated into the deeper levels of the Star Tower, and endless mysterious secret patterns emerged in Luo Feng's consciousness. These secret patterns? Luo Feng was a little confused. The mystery of these secret patterns deep in the Star Tower was greatly improved, far beyond a complete origin Tao. Luo Feng couldn't understand it at all. Countless secret patterns spiral to deeper levels, and Luo Feng's spiritual will continue to deepen along the direction of the spirals of these secret patterns. The deeper you go, the more vast and complex the secret patterns become. Is this the hidden side of the Star Tower? Luo Feng's mind and will continue to penetrate, and he spied more secret patterns. When it penetrates very deep, time suddenly stops. Strange. Luo Feng could feel that all his other avatars were in a state of stasis in time. It was obvious that he was stuck at this moment in time. However, the spiritual will of his avatar was still being spied on. Although the secret pattern is incomprehensible, it becomes more and more beautiful and even glows with color. The main color is blood, but there are also many colors such as black, cyan, green, purple and so on. Boom! Luo Feng didn't know how long it had penetrated, but finally, his spiritual will saw it. That is the existence hidden in the deepest part of the entire Star Tower. Scales, Luo Feng looked curiously. A scale, hidden in the deepest part of the Star Tower, is a blood-red scale, but there are 12 colors on the edge of the scale. This scale is in the Star Tower, just like the supreme rules are in the source world, naturally affecting everything. It doesn't really exist. Luo Feng, as the owner of the Star Tower, has a feeling. These scales are the Star Tower. The Star Tower is the scales. The two are one. What I spied was just the outer appearance of the mysterious manifestation of the rules. Luo Feng's mind will observe the blood-red scales with 12 colors on the edge. These blood-red scales had an extremely terrifying sense of oppression, and even Luo Feng's mind will felt a great burden. This blood-red scale is much more terrifying than the huge eye in the dream memory. If the ultimate will of the God King faces it directly, it may go crazy. Luo Feng made a comparison in his heart and made a natural judgment. Before, he had not been able to peek into the deeper layers of the Star Tower, which was actually a kind of protection. The mind will was strong enough, so he naturally peeked. Of course, the huge eye was just an image in the dream memory. If it really existed. The real huge eye, and this blood-colored scale, which one is more terrifying, it is hard to say. Is the will beyond the God King level just the threshold to watch it? I have never heard of such a terrifying secret treasure of the origin continent that is beyond the God King level. Luo Feng thought, the emperors and monarchs of the two ancient countries were equipped with secret treasures beyond the God King level. With the ultimate life form and powerful secret treasures, they can compete with the lords of the 10,000 worlds and the beasts of the world. According to legend, the ancestors of the two countries can refine secret treasures that are beyond the God King level. Those emperors, except Emperor Qing and Emperor Moth, are only the ultimate will of the God King. And many of them have to distract themselves to suppress the chaotic blood will. Their spiritual will can exert the power of secret treasures. How can those secret treasures compare with the Star Tower? Luo Feng inferred from many aspects based on the known information and the information collected by the Infinite Space Treasure House. The Star Tower should be far superior to the common, beyond the God King level, secret treasures on the Origin continent. This also made Luo Feng more vigilant. Let's see how powerful the Star Tower is first. Luo Feng's divine power tried to penetrate the vast and mysterious secret patterns deep in the Star Tower. Luo Feng only understood a little of the most superficial of these secret patterns. A little deeper, nothing can be understood. Just like kindergarten children on Earth facing thick books on advanced mathematics, they can't even understand the symbols. Those who can understand a little, study them thoroughly first. Luo Feng was very excited. The more complex these secret patterns are, the higher the level of the Star Tower is. I can judge that life, destruction, cause and effect, time, space, matter, world, infinity, extreme. The 9 origin roads under the supreme rules can all be found from them. After all, Luo Feng once merged his heart into the supreme rules and watched the 9 origin roads. Although he didn't understand other roads very well, he could barely classify them. These secret patterns should be far more than 9 roads. The deeper they go, the tighter they combine, until they finally turn into that piece of blood-colored scales. According to the shallow-level secret patterns, life secret patterns account for 34.1%, destruction secret patterns account for 9.2%, and material secret patterns account for about 7%. Luo Feng can judge the life and destruction categories more accurately. The material category can be roughly judged, but the judgment of the others is too vague. Life is the core. Other categories revolve around it. After Luo Feng classified them, he felt much clearer, and the divine power began to penetrate. The premise of driving the secret pattern is to comprehend most of it. Just like facing a mess, you must first know how to untie the mess, which needs to be untied layer by layer, and every step cannot be wrong. The secret pattern deep in the Star Tower is like this, but it is too mysterious. The order of driving, the order of combination, how to cooperate. Luo Feng has accumulated lot of knowledge in the direction of life and destruction, and even how to combine the two. Luo Feng keeps studying the shallow secret patterns in this aspect and drives more and more. Practitioners usually focus on one avenue. It is rare to be able to practice 2 or 3 avenues at the same time. This scale contains at least more than 10 avenues, and it can be perfectly combined. Luo Feng was also quite shocked. In the process of studying the secret patterns of driving life and destruction, Luo Feng was also eye-opening. There are so many ways to combine life and destruction. The way I tried to merge is much simpler than it. Luo Feng was like a dry desert, absorbing water frantically. The combination of life and destruction in the secret pattern of the Star Tower greatly broadened Luo Feng's horizons and gave him more directions. Boom! A kind of Tao fusion mystery emerged in Luo Feng's mind. That was the mystery of the perfect fusion of the splitting sky branch and the dark sky branch of the origin of destruction. This mystery thoroughly explained all the possibilities of the fusion of these two branches. The second level of the God King? Luo Feng understood. When he first comprehended the deep secret pattern of the Star Tower, the origin of destruction naturally reached the second level of the God King. This is also the previous accumulation of the destruction demon clone, which was trained with the scale of destruction. The accumulation of the origin of destruction has long surpassed the path of life unknowingly. After the two major branches were completely fused, Luo Feng could easily create many moves based on the fusion mystery of splitting the sky and darkening the sky, according to this fusion mystery. However, this kind of moves is too little help to Luo Feng's strength. It is possible to create a secret method of escape. Luo Feng's mind moved, and a secret method of escape has already taken shape. It is estimated that it will be completely perfected after a few hundred days of research. But Luo Feng did not distract himself and continued to study the deep secret patterns of the Star Tower. This research lasted for nearly half a century. Luo Feng felt that it was difficult to make any progress. The secret patterns I can drive now are pretty good. Let's try to see how powerful they are. Luo Feng was quite curious. This time, the more powerful, world power, was completely burned, and the deep secret patterns of the Star Tower began to be driven. Buzz 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 tilde 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 tilde. The Star Tower was in the quiet room of the City Lord's mansion in Huyang City. Luo Feng even released the world domain to cover the surroundings and isolate the outside world from prying. At this moment, the Star Tower was slightly shaken, and the power made the world domain released by Luo Feng tremble. Luo Feng felt as if he was controlling a huge monster which was probably running rampant, and its might was even greater than the Great Extinction. What a terrifying might! Luo Feng felt it for a moment, but did not dare to use it completely. Once used, Luo Feng was not sure that he could completely restrain the power. This power is also a bit terrifying. Luo Feng was a little shocked. The secret treasures that can be exchanged in the Infinite Space Treasure House and the secret treasures in the Legend of the Origin Continent with his second level of God King realm should not be able to burst out with such power. After the transformation of the mind and will, I can sweep away most of the God Kings on the Origin Continent. But those emperors and monarchs? I am not sure. The emperors and monarchs are all ultimate life forms. The ultimate life forms are extremely perfect, and they have some effect of resisting the mind and will. Moreover, the emperors and monarchs of the two ancient countries have secret treasures that surpass the God King level. This level of secret treasures also has more or less effect of resisting the mind and will. With these two aspects combined, Luo Feng estimated that he could influence the opponent's strength to a certain extent by relying solely on his spiritual will, and the possibility of killing him was low. Except for his spiritual will, my direct fighting strength is still weaker than that of the Emperor. Once the Star Tower is exposed. If Emperor Qing, the ancestor of the East Pole domain, and the ancestors of the two countries fight for the Star Tower, can I survive? In front of those people, his spiritual will is useless, and their spiritual will is even stronger than his physical body? Tricks? There is a huge gap. It's not time to use the Star Tower. Luo Feng thought, and after a while, without relying on external objects, my strength will reach a new level. It won't take too long, and I should be able to comprehend the 24 phases. At that time, with the help of the Han Yuan blood biological materials, I can practice to become a higher level of world life. The 10-sided world form is the entry point for world life. The 24 phases form truly demonstrates the power of world life. Luo Feng is looking forward to it. Maybe without the Star Tower, I can compete with the Emperor and the Monarch. Among the Han Yuan bloodline creatures with the strength of the second level of the God King, those with 24 phases are considered the top. This is because these Han Yuan bloodline creatures have low intelligence. In Luo Feng's hands, the world life forms with 24 phases will naturally be more powerful. Luo Feng's spiritual will can also make the world life form larger. The power of the moves on the Origin Continent has an upper limit, which is the upper limit of the ultimate realm of the God King. This is also the reason why the ancestor of Yang Feng has difficulty killing the Lord of the Mother River. The stronger I am, the stronger the Star Tower can be. Oh, and this. Luo Feng looked at the colorful lotus seed in his hand. The lotus seed, rooted in the inner world, can grow into a lotus of life. In addition to increasing the degree of fit with the origin of life, it will also make the inner world more stable, fill the body with endless vitality, and greatly improve the strength of the body. Lotus of life. After Luo Feng exchanged it, he got more detailed information. The larger the inner world is, the better the lotus of life can grow. The lotus of life can also be transferred to the outside world, and even fight against the enemy. The body can also be strengthened in the body. Planting. Luo Feng naturally planted this lotus seed in the inner world of the true body of the world life. Because Luo Feng's spiritual will has transformed, the world life that can be controlled can also be larger. Now, Luophone's small universe has been absorbing energy to the maximum extent, continuously transmitting perfect divine power to supply the growth of the world life. Wow! World life, inner world. When a seed falls into the depths of the earth, just a moment, a touch of green breaks through the earth and grows rapidly. The growth rate of the lotus of life is very amazing. It takes the entire inner world as its foundation, growing taller and taller, and the lotus leaves gradually bloom. Finally, after 1009 days, the lotus of life has grown to the limit of the inner world. It is green all over, and the huge lotus leaves are like worlds. There are 36 green lotus leaves, and the stamens in the middle are colorful. This huge lotus of life, the 36 lotus leaves occupy 1/10 of the entire inner world, and its roots penetrate every part of the inner world. Make the inner world more stable. If Luophone releases the world domain, his power will increase significantly. This lotus of life is like a connection with the origin of life. Naturally, there is endless vitality. This video will end here.